Today is Wednesday, May 21st. And today I want to continue to talk about comfort. Sometimes the best way to understand comfort is to look at what is not comforting. So today I want to look at some of the least comforting people in the Bible. To do this, I'm going to turn to the book of Job. Now, if there were ever a man in need of comfort, it was Job. He lost everything. First, he lost everything financially. Through a series of disasters, he went from being a very wealthy man to being basically destitute. Then he lost his family. He had 10 children, and they were all killed when the building collapsed upon them. Then he lost his health. We're not told a specific disease, but we are told that he was covered in painful sores from his head to his toes. Job lost everything. Well, then 3 of his friends came to comfort him. And I want to give these friends credit where they deserve it. When they saw Job in his agony, the first thing they did was sit down in the dirt next to him. For 7 days, they just sat there and didn't say a word. They just tried to comfort Job with their presence. Then they started to talk, and everything fell apart. Did you know that the phrase Job's comforters has made it into the dictionary? Webster's defines Job's comforter as a person who aggravates suffering under the guise of offering comfort. And Job's friends certainly earned that description. They came to comfort Job, but mostly what they did was blame him. They said that God is just, and since Job was suffering so much, he must have done something wrong to deserve God's wrath. And when Job insisted that he was innocent, or at least not so guilty that he deserved something like this, his friends called him a liar. They said that the fact that he was suffering was proof that he really had done something terrible. And why was Job trying to argue when the evidence was plain for everybody to see? Well, at the end of the book, God himself showed up in a whirlwind. And God did vindicate Job, sort of. I mean, he said that Job was innocent and that this suffering was not a punishment for sin. However, God did not explain himself. He didn't say to Job, well, you see, Satan said that you were only good because I protected you and he challenged your goodness, and I wanted to show that goodness does not come from receiving a reward, so No. God didn't say anything like that. Instead, God invited Job into his presence. Instead of offering an explanation, God offered Job comfort through his own presence as the living God. Job's friends made the mistake of blaming Job, and that certainly was a serious mistake. But even beyond that, their entire approach was wrong, because they tried to offer Job an answer. They tried to give him an explanation, as if understanding how this suffering happened and why bad things happened would somehow make it all better. I think that's a mistake we still make today. In the midst of suffering, we look for an explanation. We look for someone to blame. We look for an answer, as if understanding what has happened will make it better. But reality doesn't work like that. Healing doesn't come from having an answer. Healing comes from the healer. Healing comes from the great physician, the living God, Jesus Christ, who heals our souls. It is through his grace, through his mercy that we find healing, not through an explanation. Because all the understanding, all the explanations, all the answers in the world are cold comfort compared to the love of our God. Healing doesn't come from finding an answer. Healing comes from drawing close to the God who heals us. So may God be with you, and I'll see you tomorrow.